Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in today's deep dive video, we'll be taking a close look at the Demons of Khorne. For this video, we'll be using the Agents of Chaos Warcry supplement book, and we'll be getting all our information from that. We'll have a quick read through and find out a little bit of background about the Demons of Khorne before taking a look at all of their fighter cards and also all the abilities that those fighters can use. And then we'll head over to the Games Workshop website and we'll look at every single miniature that's available to the Blade of Khorne and pair those miniatures up with the fighter cards and the abilities. Right, let's get started and see how the Demons of Khorne fit in with the world of Warcry. Across the mortal realms, the warriors of Khorne plunge into ferocious battle. There is no mercy to be found in their savage hearts, for they know that their god cares not from where the blood flows, only that it does. The entity known to mortal kind as Khorne is considered by many seers and scholars to be the eldest of the Chaos Gods and possibly the most powerful. From atop a mountainous throne of skulls, the blood god watches countless armies battle across all of creation, bellowing in wrathful appreciation of each life taken and river of gore spilt. Khorne's favoured mortal servants are known as the Bloodbound, and should the Bloodbound perform enough acts of slaughter to thin the walls of reality, the Blood God's demons may be drawn forth to claim their own tally of skulls. Each of these beings was born in the heart of Khorne's rage, a splinter of their god that cares only for mindless carnage. Bloodletters form the heart of these demonic armies, their wicked hellblades dripping with gore and their eyes alight with the need to slay. On those occasions that a Khornate warband is charged with a specific purpose, it is often some form of hunt. The blood god despises cowardice in all forms, particularly the use of magic, which Khorne sees as the wielding of power that has not been earned, and thus many of the god's red-handed champions and demonic warbands known as Bloodseekers strive to run such marked individuals to the ground. Through claiming their skulls, they earn the favour of their bloodthirsty deity. Yet these are not the only hunts Khorne's faithful engage in. From tracking down relic weaponry to claiming sacrifices, the Blades of Khorne are a relentless scourge on the Bloodwind spoil. There we go, that's a brief introduction to see how the Demons of Khorne fit in with the world of Warcry. So now let's get started looking at those fighter cards and abilities. And there's one ability that all the fighters in the warband are going to be able to use. And as long as they've got this rune mark here that represents the Demons of Khorne, they can use this ability. And the Demons of Khorne haven't got many fighters to choose from, so they're pretty limited. They're also limited in abilities. And I would say out of all the factions from all these supplement books, these have probably got the fewest amount of abilities that they can use, with only 6. So that combines all the fighter abilities and the leader ability together. So with just 6 to choose from, we're not going to have a huge amount going on here. But it's this one ability that they can all use that really kind of sums up what they're about and gives us an idea of how we might play them tactically in a game. So this double is called Blood for the Blood God. And with this, a fighter can use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them this activation, and this fighter makes a bonus move action or a bonus attack action. So these guys are going to be fueled by taking down those enemy fighters, gorging on that blood, and that's going to fuel them on, give them another move or another attack action if they choose so. So a great ability to get started with, and I'm sure these guys will be taking down a good number of enemy fighters and be using this double ability a lot. Okay, let's get started with our first miniature, and this is the Skullmaster Herald of Khorne. And if you like the look of this one, you can pick it up for £23.50. There's some options to proxy this one though, but if you did like it, then £23.50 will get you the exact model that matches the card. But I'll go through those proxies later on. And so for the Skullmaster of Herald of Khorne, he's going to come in at 265 points. And this is our most expensive leader and fighter from the whole warband and all the options available. And for those 265 points, you're going to get the leader rune mark, the mounted rune mark, and one other, that skull rune mark there. So we're going to get 2 abilities, one for the leader, one for the skull. And that mounted rune mark just lets us know that the model is mounted, and so there's going to be some restrictions such as not being able to go through doorways, things like that. You're going to get a movement of 6, toughness 5, and can take 38 wounds, which is pretty good. And then for the weapon, it's a range of 1. We can make 5 attacks. It's strength 4, and you can do 2 to 5 on a crit there. So rolling 5 dice for attacks is always great. Having a strength of 4 is not bad, and you're going to deal 2 to 5 on a crit. But it's the abilities that I think will really be making this one worth those high 265 points. So let's have a look at the abilities now. Let's do the leader ability first. This is a triple called Locus of Fury, and a fighter could use this ability only if an enemy fighter has been taken down by an attack action made by them this activation. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of attack actions that have a range characteristic of 3 or less made by visible friendly fighters while they are within 6 inches of this fighter. So much like that double blood for the blood god, this is really building on that idea that once they take down an enemy, they're really empowered by that bloodlust and really push forward. But not only does it just inspire this guy as the blood for the blood god would, but Locus of Fury is affecting all the visible friendly fighters within 6 inches of this fighter. So if he takes someone down, which he's going to with those 5 attacks for sure, then everyone around him is just going to go crazy and start going at it, attacking the enemy. So a real nice triple there, and for sure you want to get this guy then right up in the action, taking out those enemy fighters as quick as possible, but having a nice amount of friendly fighters around him so they can benefit from this great triple. The next ability is also a triple called Murderous Charge, and this kind of represents the idea that he's mounted and the sort of ability he could do by being mounted. And so with this, until the end of this fighter's activation, the next time this fighter finishes a move action within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter, then allocate a number of damage points to that fighter equal to the value of this ability. So we see this a lot on the mounted fighters. This is a real standard one, but again, you want to charge in, get amongst the enemy, get in close, and if you've got a 5 or 6 value for this triple, then you can immediately just allocate that number of damage points to the enemy fighter, doing some serious damage along the way. So nice little triple there to do some more damage, but you really want to get high values for this to make it worthwhile. Our next leader option is the Bloodmaster Herald of Khorne, and he's going to cost you £17.50 if you buy this mod on its own. But I really don't think you need to get this one. Once we see some other sets later on, you'll see why. There's certainly some proxy options. But if you want to use the actual model, it's £17.50, and this one's going to cost you 190 points. He's not mounted, so the movement's going to be less here. So we get a movement of 4, toughness 4, can take 22 wounds. We've got the leader rune mark and 1 other rune mark, so we're going to get a different ability we haven't seen yet. And for the weapons, it's that range of 1 again, 5 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So this is a really nice amount of damage output here, nice number of attacks. But for 190 points, not bad at all. 22 wounds, a fair bit of movement, but it's a different ability. So let's see what this one is going to give this fighter. And it's a double called Decapitating Strike. And for this, we add half the value of the ability, rounding up to the number of damage points allocated by critical hits from the next attack action made by this fighter, this activation that has a range characteristic of 3 or less. Now this is a nice double for this particular fighter, because being able to roll 5 attack dice, there's a good chance you're going to get a critical hit in there. Certainly if you can spend 2 actions in one activation, both of them being attack actions, then for sure you're going to get some crits in there. And so this ability allows you only for the next attack action though, so just bear that in mind. So whenever, it doesn't really matter I suppose if you're rolling 5 attack dice which attack action you choose to do during the activation to use it with, but I think this could be pretty damaging there. So again, you want 5s or 6s though, then you can add 3 to that critical hit, potentially taking you from 2 to 5 to 2 to 8, so not bad at all. And then we've also got the leader ability called Locus of Fury, and we've already seen that with the previous leader, so we won't go through that one again. And we've got another leader option, which is the Blood Reaper, and you'll find that guy in this set, the Demons of Khorne Bloodletters. So for £22.50 you're going to get 10 miniatures here, and one of those can be built as the Blood Reaper, and it's a great value this set. And for this one is 150 points. Got the leader rune mark, the rune mark for the ability we just saw, and he's got a movement of 4, toughness 3, can take 20 wounds. His weapon is a range of 1, 5 attacks again, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So for 150 points, this isn't bad at all for a leader. You get the use of that Locus of Fury ability that we've seen already. He can still make 5 attack, strength 4, but it's not dealing as much damage on a crit, so it's still 2 to 4 on a crit. But being able to bump that up with the Decapitating Strike ability is really going to help. But yeah, those abilities are really great, and I think for 150 points, it's really worth it to use those abilities, whether you use them as your leader or hero, just to get those abilities in the game. So I think definitely worth it. Really great points value. The abilities we've already seen though, so I won't go through those again for this leader. Once you take that leader out, you're going to have another 9 models that you can use as Bloodletters, and they're only 70 points each, but these are just regular fighters. They do get an ability, so they've got the rune mark for that Decapitating Strike. They've got a movement 4, toughness 3, can take 10 wounds. The range for attack is 1, again with a sword. They're going to make 4 attacks, strength 3, dealing 1 to 4 on a crit. So for 70 points, this isn't bad at all. You get 10 wounds, which is nice. Movement average, not very tough and not very strong, but you are making 4 attacks and dealing 1 to 4 on a crit with the benefit of that Decapitating Strike as well. And so with that ability, I think for 70 points, this isn't too bad at all. If you take all 9 of them, it's only 630 points in total, and you've got 9 pretty tough fighters, all dishing out 4 attacks each. So that's crazy. So potentially per round, you could get a huge number of attacks rolled against your enemy, and I think these guys would be pretty destructive. Now we're on to our 4th and final leader option, and this is a box of Blood Crushers for £60, but in here you get an option to build 1 Blood Hunter. But I would say for Warcry, I wouldn't recommend getting this box set. You don't need it, but I'll show you another set that they come in, which is much better value later on. But for the Blood Hunter leader, it's 240 points, so we're getting pretty high. Again, we're getting back up there close to that Skullmaster. And we've got the leader rune mark, the skull rune mark, and it's telling us it's mounted again. Movement 6, toughness 4, can take 35 wounds. And with this one, it's a weapon range of 1. You can make 5 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 5 on a crit. So this is very similar to our Skullmaster. The only difference on here is that he can take 3 less damage, and he's only got a toughness of 4, whether the Skullmaster has got a toughness of 5. But there's no reason why you can't use this Blood Hunter from this box set as a proxy for your Skullmaster, Herald of Khorne. So I think with this one model option, you can have 2 different leaders and proxy it, and then make the use of those extra 25 points to get the extra point of toughness, and also to get those extra 3 wounds that he can take. So not bad at all, and the abilities are the same. So we see the abilities here. We've got that Murderous Charge and the Locus of Fury leader ability too. Now once we take that Blood Hunter out, we're going to have 5 models left. So we can make 5 Blood Crushers with these, and if you wanted to have a whole warband of just Blood Crushers with a Blood Hunter leader for a whole like cavalry warband, then sure, I would say this is the only reason really to buy this particular set. But if you want to include a couple of them, then later on in the video I go through that option. But if you did choose to use Blood Crushers in your warband, they're 185 points each. They've got that rune mark for the triple Murderous Charge ability we've already seen, and they're mounted. They've got a movement of 6, toughness 4, can take 30 wounds. Their weapon is a range 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, doing 2 to 4 on a crit. So for 185 points to get 30 wounds, movement of 6 is pretty good. Toughness and strength is average, but with 4 attacks dealing 2 to 4, they can certainly do some damage there with that damage output. But it's the Murderous Charge ability on top of that that I think makes this a pretty decent option. And so for 185 points, definitely recommend having 1, maybe 2 of these in the warband. I probably wouldn't choose a Blood Hunter as my leader personally, but I'd certainly want some Blood Crushers in there for that extra movement to absorb some damage, but also to dish it out too. Our next option for a fighter is something completely different now, and we're looking at these Flesh Hounds. So these are going to come in at £30 for a box of 5. And so I think these are really fun. I like having kind of beasts in a warband. I think it makes it really interesting. Whether you want 5 or not, I'm not sure. It's quite a lot. You could take 5 in as a warband of 5 with a couple of leaders and maybe some Blood Crushers, rounding them up. But that's up to you. But I'd certainly try and get a couple of them for sure. But if you want to use these Flesh Hounds, they're going to come in at 170 points each. They've got a nice movement of 8, a toughness 4, can take 20 wounds. They've got 1 rune mark for an ability we haven't seen yet, And if they're attacking, it's with their claws and teeth. This is a range of 1, 4 attacks, strength 4, dealing 2 to 4 on a crit. So again, a nice number of attack dice. All of the fighters and leaders here are really throwing some high numbered attack dice here, so you can really get stuck in, and you can see that these guys are going to do some serious damage. With that movement 8, that's pretty fun too. You can really cover the battlefield and get stuck into the enemy. But they've got this ability as well, which is called Hungry for Flesh. This is a double, and with it a fighter can use this ability only if there is a visible enemy fighter within 6 inches of them. This fighter makes a bonus move action and must finish closer to the closest visible enemy fighter than they were at the start of that action. I think this is a great ability for a double. So we've got, say we want to do in an activation, we want to move 8, then we get within 6 inches of a visible enemy fighter, so we can move right up to them and then finish right next to them. So you can potentially do 14 inches with a move action and that bonus move action. That's going to then leave you with one more action to do your attack in. So that's a huge amount of ground to cover with this model. So I think this is a really nice ability. So for 170 points, I'd have to have a Flesh Hound in my warband, maybe 2 or 3. So we can also do some Gore Hounds with these models, and they're going to come in a few extra points at 205 each. They've got the same movement 8 and toughness 4, but they can take extra wounds. They can take 25 damage here instead of the 20 that the Flesh Hound can have. They've got the rune mark for the ability we just saw, the Hungry for Flesh one. They've got a rune mark for another ability we haven't seen yet. And they've also got the Beast rune mark. This doesn't give them abilities, but they do have some limitations. Much like the mounted ones, they can't go through doorways and things like that. But with their weapon, it's a range of 1. Going to make 5 attacks, strength 4. And we're going to deal 2 to 5 on a crit there. So 2 on a standard hit, 5 on a crit. So the difference with the Flesh Hound again is we get 1 extra attack dice to roll. So instead of a 4 with the Flesh Hound, it's 5 with the Gore Hound. And on a crit, we're getting a 5 with the Gore Hound instead of the 4 that we'd have got with the Flesh Hound. So I think for those extra 35 points, you get an extra attack dice, you get an extra point to add on to the critical damage, you get an extra ability, and you can take 5 extra hits yourself. So I think great value, 205 points. This got to be done. But let's check out that extra ability and see exactly what we get for those extra points there. So we know we can use that double Hungry for Flesh. We've seen that already. And don't forget we can also use the double Blood for the Blood God, as all the fighters with the Demons of Khorne rune mark can use. But this Gorehound can also use this quad, the only quad in the ability table here, which is called Burning Roar. And for this we pick a visible enemy fighter within 8 inches of this fighter and roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 2+, we allocate 2 damage points to that fighter. So this is a really nice quad. I really like these ones. If you're getting a 6, you can roll 6 dice here, and then for every 2+, you can allocate some damage. So good potential to take out those weaker enemy fighters and do some serious damage on the stronger ones too. And you can keep a nice distance of 8 inches while you do it. So then on your next round, you can just steam straight in and finish them off. So now we've seen all 8 fighters that are available to us. It's time to look at a different option. Rather than buying all those individual sets, we can look at getting this set, which is the start collecting for the Demons of Khorne, which is the RRP is £55, making it great value on its own. But I'll put some links in the description and show you later on in the video where you can get it even cheaper than that. So keep watching for that. But you get a huge amount here. You get some serious miniatures, plenty to get started with in not just a warband, but also up to that 1400 point limit for a campaign. So you do get a lot of miniatures in here. You can see you get all those blood letters, and one of those you can build as your Blood Reaper or Skullmaster. You get a Blood Hunter and Blood Crushers, and then you get this crazy Chariot as well. So I've worked out the different fighters available in that box, and so you can see here you've got the option of having a Blood Reaper or a Blood Hunter as your leader. But I think you can proxy both of those for the Bloodmaster Herald of Khorne and the other one for the Skullmaster Herald of Khorne as well. So you've really given yourself an option of all 4 leaders with this one box set. So I think that's a great start. And then you've got those blood letters left and regular blood crushers. So whichever way you start to use the leader, whichever one you choose, you've got potentially 9 or 10 blood letters and 2 or 3 blood crushers as well. So I think you can use this Chariot in your actual Warcry game for sure. And there was a recent publication on the Warhammer community site for Warhammer, they included a Scourge Runner Chariot for a Warcry campaign. And so I think you could take the stats from this, even tweak it a little bit, and certainly use it as so that you can make use of this model. And so for 240 points, you'd get another ability as well called Plow Through, which is really cool. So I think there's no reason at all why you couldn't use this in Warcry and just make up your own fighter card for it. I'm sure that would work really well. So if we take the Chariot and we say it's 240 points, and then we use everything from that box set with our Blood Reaper as a leader, and then we can have 9 Bloodletters, 3 Blood Crushers, and that Chariot, then we get a total of 1,585 points here. So if we want to play a campaign mode, we're only going to be able to bring 1,400 onto the battlefield in any skirmish, but we can have our roster filled with some pretty cool fighters here and some pretty cool variations on those models. So I think we get a load of value from this box set, and it's really got to be worth it. But if you want to spice things up a bit, then I think for me the ultimate would be to get this starter set and then get a box of Flesh Hounds, and you've pretty much got all the miniature options available. You can have all 4 of the leader options to choose from and all 4 fighter options as well. And I think this is, cost-wise, probably one of the cheapest factions you could get. You could get all the Demons of Khorne quite cheap here. A load of different options. I think they'd be really fun to play. And looking at the stats we've gone through so far, it's just crazy. I mean, all these 4s and 5 attack characteristics, you're going to be doing some serious damage with them. So if you wanted to pick up the Start Collecting box and go to Element Games, I'll put a link in the description below. It'll only be £46.75 and you get that box set with all those miniatures in. And then if you wanted to buy those Flesh Hounds and Gore Hounds on top, it's going to be a maximum of £30 more. So for £76, you can get every single fighter from the Demons of Khorne Warband. I'll also put a link to Wayland Games in the description below because it's a bit cheaper there. You get it for $43.74. But if you want the Flesh Hounds, just have a look at both websites, see which one's cheaper and which one works out better for you with delivery charge and things like that. But both the links to Element Games and Wayland Games are going to be affiliate links, but they won't cost you anything extra. In fact, you can save up to that 20%, and you also support the channel because for every sale made through a link, I get a small commission, and that helps me keep doing these videos. And yeah, loving it. So thanks so much for that support. I really appreciate it. So that brings us to the end of the video, and I'd love to know what you think about the Demons of Khorne. Do you play them in Warcry? And also, what do you think about the value? I think it's great value. And another bonus that I didn't mention is that you can actually play with these same sets in Warhammer 40k. So if you're into Kill Team and preparing for the new Octarius set that's coming out, then you could even use them in that. So even better value. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page, and thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out, and you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description, and it'll be great to see you there.